Hello everyone and welcome back to Silicon Sounds, audio for the rest of us. Today I have the distinct pleasure of reviewing the Softears Volume S. I would like to title this review as Musically Balanced. Softears is a company based in Shenzhen, China, has been quietly releasing high quality products since about 2017. Their product line includes not just IEMs but also cables, tips, and even a portable USB DAC/amplifier. The Volume S is positioned at the bottom of their line, with respect to price that is, but by no means does this reflect on its performance. At $319 USD, the Volume S is positioned in a crowded retail space with more than a few heavy hitters nipping at its boots. I would say that it does very well for itself and does hold its own in this competitive pricing area. Each combo medical grade resin, aluminum, carbon fiber, yes, it's a combination of all of those materials in the shell, houses a hybrid driver setup which includes a single 10mm silicone diaphragm dynamic driver, a 6mm wool paper diaphragm dynamic driver, that's interesting, but actually I should correct myself. It's not a dynamic driver, it is a passive driver. And two self-developed balance armatures all mated to a three-way crossover network. Additional design innovations include what's called a strip pressure release technology, which is said to enhance the bass. And I think whatever it is and whatever they may be doing, they're doing it well. Low latency conduits meant to preserve phase and an interesting two-stage tuning adjustment tech. There is a small two-position switch located on the faceplate, if we can see that right there. Located on the faceplate, which is interesting. There's a small tool supplied to manipulate this switch, and it does change the sound noticeably. Each position does perceptibly change the overall sound, but for testing I opted for the low impedance mode, which sounded fuller than the high impedance mode. So what the switch is doing is basically adjusting the impedance and consequently the overall sound signature. The Volume S is fairly easy to drive, and in my listening experience was source tolerant, although still better suited to more capable front ends, in particular where bass drive and impact were concerned. Using some less capable sources. When I say capable, I need to say what that means. Driving power, clean driving power, resolving power, that's all part of being a capable source. But for testing, I opted again for the low impedance mode with a more capable source to take full advantage of the sonics of the Volume S. Tuning here is balanced top to bottom, with no particular part of the frequency range really taking the lead. Specs, one 10mm dynamic driver, one 6mm passive dynamic, and two balanced armatures. Sensitivity is listed at 114 decibels per volt RMS in mode 1. And mode 2, because the switch gives you two modes, it's 124 dB volt RMS. Impedance in mode 1 is 31.2 ohms, and in mode 2 it's 9.8 ohms. THD less than 1%, take that with a grain of salt. Frequency response 8 Hz to 40 kHz, once again. And the cable is interesting, as we'll see later. It is an interchangeable cable, and we'll talk about that in a bit, meaning it's a convertible. Build and fit. I would say overall the Volume S is an average looking IEM, but that's very subjective. Some people may love this, I don't know even what to call it, to label it in terms of its design cues. It's moderately large in size. Fitment was never an issue, but I can see how with some smaller ears they may have some reservations. As we can see, it is quite a chunky and thick IEM. But for me, fitment was not a problem, with enough comfort for long listening sessions. Of course, tip selection is critical here for that. I did, though, find myself having to adjust the IEM during longer listening sessions to maintain comfort, but not enough to be overly distracting. So not the most comfortable IMs I've had in my ear, but still did not detract too much, in fact, at all, from the overall listening experience. Tip selection, once again, is key here, not just for sound quality, but to maximize comfort as well. It is a prominent nozzle, and the thickness of this, the little added wings here, could be a fit issue for some, but for me, it was okay. Build quality, though, is very good. I only had the IM and its cable for evaluation, but apparently the retail presentation and quality of the accessories is in step with the asking price and the quality of the IM itself. So that's big up Softears on that. The cable, though, is the standout. Let me pull that up here. The cable is a soft covered with pretty aggressive air hooks, but very comfortable. And it has a modular end to it. And it ships with a 4.4 and 3.5 tips. The good thing about it is it doesn't just plug in, but there is a collar here, which will make the connection even more secure. It won't pull out over time. Very well done, Softears. I love the soft feel of the cable. The haptics are great. Soft, not overly stiff, just good all around. Definitely quality cable. So let's get back to the Softears Volume S here. All right, let's talk about the sound. But before that, I must say one thing about the cable. While it is a fantastic looking cable, haptics are great, there is one thing about the cable that might cause some reservation to some people, and that is microphonics. I just found that this cable was very susceptible to microphonics at times. Once again, for long listening sessions, I'm not moving around too much. I'm usually just chilling on the couch. But I did notice microphonics more than usual. So keep that in mind. Sound. The low end follows the balanced presentation of the overall sound. There is some emphasis here in the sub bass, but only to give body and fullness to the sound. When called for, the bass hits hard, but it's not a bass head IEM. Now, when I say it's not a bass head IEM, there are some people who pointed out, oh, it has no bass. That's not what I mean. My definition of bass head is bass above everything else. The Softears is balanced, but does have that bass power when called for. The bass is notably well behaved, and bass bleed into the mids is negligible. There is a pleasing thickness to the bass here, and while the sub bass is not bottomless, this is not the most bottomless IM I've heard in this price range, or even lower and above in terms of bass reach. I really even felt that anything was missing, only when A-B comparison with some other IMs that I may have hanging around, as I'll talk about later, such as the Kiwi Air's Astral. Bass is notably well behaved, and that's a fantastic thing in terms of being a solid and well-behaved, once again, foundation to the overall musical signature. It's really there to serve as a solid foundation and towing the line when it comes to the overall tuning. Mid-range. Mid-range is arguably the star of the show here. Clean with good definition and natural sonics. There's a good mix of both macro and micro details here. Though to be fair, the Volume S is not a detail monster. Give another quick look at it. Not a detail monster per se. It's more about being musical. It's satisfying nonetheless. There's a warmth to the lower mids that is inviting, paired with the slightest of presence boost to keep things interesting. Pinna gain is really kept under control here, which I appreciate very much. Note weight is pleasing, adding to the organic delivery, or the sense of organics. Pinna gain is kept in check, no harshness was noted, transients are handled in a believable fashion, and the noteworthy timbre is quite natural, adding to the immersive quality that the mid-range possesses. And this is the strength of the balanced organic mid-range of the Volume S. This is the strength of what it delivers. It's not the most detailed, it's not the most concise, we'll call it that way. Precise, it is very precise, not necessarily concise, but it has a musical naturalness to it that is very pleasing. The impressive level of coherency combined with its inherent natural presentation really do add up to an IEM that can pull the listener in. Noted also was how forgiving the Volume S is to less than perfectly recorded tracks. That being said, on well-recorded music, the Softears S really does sing. Let's talk about the treble. Treble is nicely extended and is obviously tuned for musicality as opposed to standing out. There's adequate amounts of sparkle and air here with the same organic sonics noted in the mid-range. No harshness or glare was noted at all. The Volume S is staying on course even at higher volume levels. It doesn't break down into a congealed mess even at higher volume levels. And even with more complex tracks, it's gifted to be able to keep things in their place with those tracks at higher volume levels. Detail retrieval here is good, not mind-blowing. And the Volume S was heard to have a resolving treble. The treble here, again, continues to toe the line that the bass and mid-range do so well with the Volume S with respect to its tuning. Balanced and more mature approach to tuning here. Imaging and soundstage. Soundstage is moderately large with notable layering and separation of instruments. Each instrument occupies its own individual space, yet comes together for the track. Width is beyond the ears and depth is well presented with some height thrown in for good measure. Instrument placement is precise, with space heard around each. As in some of the better sets I have heard, the Volume S offers up a soundstage with dimensions that are not exaggerated but more focused on being natural and organic, much like, again, the previously mentioned Kiwi Air's Astral. This enhances the previously mentioned immersive quality of playback with the Volume S. There are some IEMs out there that present this holographic image, but on further listening, it's really not natural. It's overblown. So let's talk about some verses here. Here we have a nice set. This is the Kiwi Air's Astral, which I just recently reviewed. Now, these two sets are very different, yet both are quite good. The Astral uses a slightly different hybrid setup. I should also point out that the Astral was definitely more comfortable, even though the shape looks more aggressive. Take you side by side. It was definitely more comfortable, especially for long listening sessions. In the bass, the Astral definitely digs deeper. It's more bottomless and is more prominent as compared to the Volume S, but not in an obtrusive way. In terms of detail and texturing, they are more similar than different. The bass of the Astral has more power, more drive, still being very musical. The mid-range is where the differences are more easily heard. The Astral has a livelier presentation with comparable, if not arguably better, detail retrieval on the Astral for sure, while the Volume S is just a touch more organic, just a touch. The Volume S does have a smooth over sound as compared to the Astral. Some may like that, some may not. As opposed to the more tactile sound of the Astral. Each offers a great mid-range, but here I do prefer the way the Astral relays the mids, but really it's down to personal preference. I felt the Astral was a little bit more open in the mid-range, a little bit more expressive, yet still maintaining a very high level of musicality here. In the treble, the Volume S has a less energetic, yet with respect to detail retrieval, is comparable to the Astral, interestingly enough. The treble, as offered by the Volume S, is slightly more organic here, though each does well in this regard. I would have preferred a little bit more sparkle in the Volume S, but the natural playback gets the nod here. So the treble, I would give it just a touch over to the Volume S as the winner. With respect to which one I preferred for long distance listening, please excuse that noise, I would have to choose the Astral more often than the S, but it all comes down to personal preference. Okay, definitely personal preference. Let me turn that off. Sorry about that. All right, so let's get that out of the way. And I don't want to take anything away from the Volume S. This is a fantastic IEM. What's the conclusion here? The Softears Volume S is an excellent IEM. I can see those listeners who prioritize musicality and organics as being well suited to what the Volume S has on offer here. The Softears Volume S gets a definite recommendation from Silicone Sounds. Thanks for watching the video. Once again, more videos to come. Lots of new IEMs coming in. I have the Kiwi Ears Etude on deck and a number of other fantastic IEMs coming in to share with you. Please like and subscribe, and see you next time on Silicone Sounds. Audio for the rest of us.